I still remember that night like a fresh bruise under the skin, cold, sharp, and impossible to forget. I was living alone in a quiet apartment in Ohio, coming home past midnight after a long double shift. I was exhausted enough to fall asleep fully clothed, but that night's sleep was never going to happen. I was lying in bed, barely drifting off, when I heard something downstairs. It wasn't the house settling, and it wasn't a random creak. It was slow, deliberate, a sound like someone sliding a boot across my living room floor. At first, I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, but the sound came again. A soft, dragging step that froze my entire body. My apartment door was locked. Deadbolt, chain, everything. Nobody had a spare key. My heartbeat was pounding in my throat as I grabbed my phone and called 911. I didn't dare open my bedroom door. I just whispered to the dispatcher that someone was inside my apartment. She asked if I could see anyone. I told her no, and she said officers were already on their way. For the next minute, I stood in the dark, listening. Another step, and then the sound that made every hair on my body stand up. Breathing slow, heavy, human breathing. And it wasn't mine. It was right outside my bedroom door. I backed toward the closet, preparing to hide if the door opened. But suddenly the footsteps stopped. Everything went silent, unnaturally silent. The police arrived fast. I heard them calling out from downstairs, announcing themselves. For the first time that night, I felt a tiny bit of relief. They searched the whole apartment, upstairs, downstairs, closets, behind doors, under the bed, even the shower. They found nothing. One officer asked if I wanted to check the front door. When we walked down together, my stomach dropped. The door was unlocked, wide open. I knew I had locked it. I knew what I heard. One of the officers searched the backyard while the other told me it might have been fatigue or stress. But I wasn't confused. I wasn't imagining anything. Then the second officer came back, holding something disturbing. A dusty boot print. A single print right on my living room floor, exactly where I'd heard the first step. They asked if I had movers or workers in the house recently. I told them no. Nobody had been inside my place for months. The officers exchanged looks and searched again, even more carefully this time. Nothing. Finally, one of them said something that chilled me worse than the intruder himself. Whoever was in here wasn't in a hurry. This print is too clean. They were standing still for a while, standing still, listening. Listening to what? Me breathing upstairs? Me dialing 911? The police made a report and suggested I stay with a friend. I stayed right there, sitting awake in my living room with every light on until sunrise. In the morning, when sunlight finally crept into the apartment, I saw something the officers missed. On the staircase was another boot print, a dusty mark on the 5th step, facing my bedroom. Whoever broke in wasn't here to steal anything. They weren't looking for valuables. They were coming upstairs, coming toward me. And the moment I called the police, they stopped, turned around, and left without making a sound. I never heard them leave. I never saw their face, and the police never found a single clue outside. Some nights when the house settles or the wind shifts, I still hear that slow, dragging footstep in my mind. I still feel that breath on the other side of the door. And the question I can't escape is the one that keeps me awake. If I had opened my bedroom door 5 seconds earlier, would I be alive to tell this story? For more real-style crime horror stories, follow Hauntra TV. Some stories entertain, and some warn you before it's too late.